Supernumerary.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the July 22nd Planning Commission meeting. It's yours. I will call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Mel.
Keith Pattakis.
Here.
Frank Malone.
Here.
Philip Harris. Jennifer Guthrie.
Here.
Fallon Young. Richard Lamar. Grant Brown.
Here.
Dr. Mary Long.
Here.
Jason Holt.
Okay. We have a quorum. All right, first order of business is, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the June 24th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 24th, 2025 minutes. And second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, today, ladies and gentlemen, we have three deferrals to talk about first that aren't, these mean that these three that I'm gonna mention, the Rayleigh Farm subdivision, David Kelly Annex pre-zone, and Goodwin subdivision preliminary plat do not have their paperwork ready, so they will be deferred to another meeting. Then after that, we will have 4 public hearings: the retreat at Bon Secours, Kelly property rezone, Waterway Village, and subdivision regulation amendment. So I'll start off, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion if we can defer all three of those with one motion.
Second.
I think usually we do
that
them
right?
individually. So if you could do them individually, that'd be appreciative.
I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
defer the Rayleigh Farm subdivision.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carried. There's your first one, okay.
I'll make a motion to defer the David Kelly annexation pre-zone.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Go
ahead.
I'll make a motion to defer the Goodwin subdivision preliminary plat.
Second.
A motion and a second on the Goodwin subdivision plat. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We're gonna start our public hearings now, and I think Andy will kind of explain how this works. And then he'll go into his first one, retreat at Bon Secours PUD amendment.
Yes, sir. Before I begin the public hearings, I would like to make an announcement to some of you who are present are probably here for the Water Oaks subdivision. That subdivision cannot be reheard for 6 months because the Planning Commission denied it at their last Planning Commission meeting. So that will not come up for a minimum of 6 months. And if it does come back up, you will be re-notified, but that is not on the agenda.
Certified letters.
A certified letter was sent out basically by mistake by the city. It's not on the agenda tonight, so the next. No, ma'am, we advertise per the subdivision regulations, which is property owners within 100 feet of the property. So only property owners within 100 feet would have gotten okay.
Make sure that your property is properly labeled with them, after they pull the record.
I got one before when we had a meeting, but I didn't get one on this.
Okay, well, it was re-advertised exactly like it was before. It could have been a mistake by the post office, I'm not sure. But if you want to call us tomorrow, we'll be glad to check and see exactly what happened with that advertisement.
Yeah, Facebook is the only reason I knew about it.
Okay, you can call us tomorrow and we'll check on that for you. All right. So I'll quickly go through the public hearing guidelines. Everyone, please silence your cell phones. We've had issues with that in the past, so go ahead and put your cell phones on silence. During each public hearing, staff will present the application. After we present the application, the Planning Commission Chairman will open the public hearing. It's at that point that the public may address the planning commissioners. Please step to the microphone, state your name, address, address any questions, comments to the commissioners, and try to refrain from repeating or stating similar comments from those previously stated. The chairman will then close the public hearing, and the commissioners will have a discussion and vote. So the first public hearing on the agenda is ZA 2521. It's a carryover from your last meeting. It's a PUD amendment to Bon Secours Village. The retreat at Bon Secours Village Homeowners Association, on behalf of each of the lot owners, seeks approval of a PUD amendment. They seek to bring lots 20 through 25 of Bonscore Village South into the PUD, into the PUD. They seek a underlying zoning designation of R14, which is a single family zoning district. And what is a little different from last month is they want to allow each lot to be subdivided. I'll kind of breeze through these since most of you were here last month. I think all of you were. Again, this is located, all these lots are located south of what is the existing Bonscore Village PUD. It's on Waterway West Boulevard. The lots are currently zoned R2, residential, single family, and duplex. So it allows single family houses and duplexes. They're located all these lots are located also on the Intracoastal Waterway. On the background, last month you guys tabled this application after one of the lot owners approached the commission at the public hearing, stated they would like the opportunity to subdivide the property. Since then, we have worked with the HOA to come up with a kind of resolution to that issue that was brought up last month. So let's see, I'll just skip on down to analysis. So we met with the HOA probably a week or two ago. Our kind of solution in working with them is to allow each of these 6 lots to be subdivided one time. As you know, that would not create any more dwelling units. Are currently zoned R2, so a duplex could be built on each of these lots, which would equate to 12 dwelling units. If the Planning Commission allows each lot to be subdivided once, it could create a maximum of 12 lots, which would equate to 12 dwelling units. So we think we've kind of solved that issue. All of the area and dimensional standards such as minimum building setbacks, maximum building coverages will remain unchanged and be as per the current regulations that are in place today. That's important because lot 22 currently has a house on it, which was recently constructed, so it would not affect that house moving forward. Again, all of these lots were originally part of the Bonscore Village PUD. We have looked at kind of the existing lot sizes within Bonscore Village, and the retreat at Bonscore Village range from 2,700 square feet to just over 10,000 square feet. So if each of these lots were to be subdivided, that would equate to a minimum lot size of about 6,000 square feet to somewhere around 9,000 square feet. So it would be in keeping with the existing lot sizes within Bonscore Village, the single family, and then restricting the underlying zoning to R14 would accomplish the other goal of the HOA, which is to restrict the uses to single family residential instead of duplexes and single family residential units. So with that, city staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the PUD amendment application with one condition. The Bonscore Village South subdivision shall be re-recorded, adding a note stating that lots 20 through 25 may be subdivided one time. I will add that I did speak with the property owner who spoke or brought the issue up last month. I spoke to him today after playing phone tag with him for several days. He has read the staff report and is in agreement with that recommendation. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one question. You said it can be subdivided one time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as it stands right now, what's the zoning now?
So right now it's R2,
R2, right?
single family and duplex residential. And the reason that the homeowners association, as well as each individual lot owner, wants to rezone it to take away the allowance to build a duplex there, but they would like the allowance to subdivide each lot in half so they could build single-family houses on each lot.
Gotcha. Okay. Anybody up here have any questions?
Andy, do the setbacks match the PUD? Are they smaller in some instances? Or?
So the setbacks, the existing setbacks for these R2 zone properties mirror the setbacks within the PUD.
Okay.
So those will not change with this PUD amendment.
More questions up here?
There was a question last month about access to the lots through either roadways or driveways or unplatted rights of ways or roadways within the PUD. Was that?
So a PUD, so normally in order to subdivide a property, you've got to have frontage on a existing public right-of-way. Except for cottage subdivisions and planned unit development. So if this is brought into the planned unit development, that requirement goes away.
Got it. Thanks.
Questions up here? Before I open before I open up the hearing, is the owner here that's wanting this zoning? We hear-
The HOA is the applicant.
The HOA is the applicant? Okay, so would you like to approach it and see if anybody has any questions up here with the HOA?
Hi, my name is Ron Wiggins. I currently live at the Retreat at Bon Secure.
Okay, all right. And you guys are okay with what
Yes, sir.
we're trying to do here? Okay. Does anybody in the audience wish to talk to the developer, ask any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Does anybody else want to come up and say anything before I close the hearing? Lee?
Chairman, I apologize, I'll come to the mic. You may want to consider the condition is a little confusing, or could be, and that each lot could be subdivided one time. And I don't want anyone here, 3 years from now, if they subdivide, not being here, but if we aren't, and it's subdivided one time, you could subdivide one of those lots into 2 or 3 or 4 lots one time. I would consider changing that condition to each of those lots could be subdivided into 2 lots. Because one time doesn't mean 2 lots. You could subdivide it one time into multiple lots.
Point.
So just for clarification purposes, I think that's the intent.
That's the intent,
of the
yes, sir.
condition. I just make that
Okay,
pass.
thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Does that require us to do anything else, or any of that just something?
It does not require you to do anything else if the planning commission accepts that recommendation.
All right, I will close the public hearing now and look for a motion from my commissioners.
Make a motion to approve item ZA 25000021 retreat at Bon Secours PUD amendment with the added recommendation, allow each lot to be subdivided into 2 lots one time.
Into 2 lots.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carried, sir. All right. Move on to our second public hearing for the day.
Yes, sir. The next
Kelly.
public hearing is ZA 2527.
Kelly
It's a rezoning request from Mr. David Kelly. Mr. Kelly seeks to rezone 5 properties located at 4187, 4158, 4125, and 4101 County Road 6. The applicant seeks a zoning designation of general business. So all 4 of these properties are located, or all of these properties actually, are located near the intersection of County Road 6 and Oyster Bay Road, just north of that intersection. You see the location maps, first 2 maps, and the third map shows the zoning. 2 of the properties are currently zoned R4, and then 3 of the properties are zoned R1-4. In between those 2 areas that are proposed to be rezoned is existing 3 properties zoned general business. Let's see, the former Happy Harbor is located on 2 of those lots, which is kind of under construction to be Shipwreck Kelly's. And then the lot just to the south of that was rezoned by the planning or by the city council, I think back at the end of last year or early this year. And that was rezoned from R14 to general business. Here are a few of the photographs that were taken of the property. The lots closest to the intersection of County Road 6 and Oyster Bay Road. This lot that's located on the waterfront has an existing house on it. The other 2 lots are vacant. I think there was a house there at one point. It's been demolished over the last couple of years. The 2 other lots that are currently zoned R4 are vacant, and there's been some property grading that took place recently after approval of the land disturbance permit. We did publicly advertise this application. We have not received any responses from the notification as of today's date. So going back to the existing zoning, again, the properties closest to County Road 6 and Oyster Bay Road are zoned R14. R14 is a single-family zoning district. It allows single-family dwelling units. The northern 2 lots are R4, which is multifamily residential. It allows single-family duplex and multifamily with a density of 20 units per acre. This area, or all of this land proposed for rezoning, is also within the Plash Island Bon Secours River Overlay District. The Overlay District permits or kind of restricts uses and permits densities up to 15 units per acre and building heights up to 15 stories, which is probably a reduction for a lot of the zoning in this area. The other thing that's worth noting is, for example, BG, which is a proposed zoning district, only allows multifamily by a conditional use permit. So the Plash Island Bon Secours River Overlay District indicates that the overlay district overlays the existing zoning, but the more restrictive of the 2 applies. So for example, the Bon Secours River Overlay District would allow multifamily uses, but because BG is more restrictive and requires a conditional use permit, the conditional use permit would apply. Does that make sense? So the proposed zoning is general business. Again, general business allows a wide range of retail businesses, offices, hotels, motels, and other similar uses. Allows shallow setbacks and moderate building heights. So the land use plan, this was recently updated approximately within the last year. Kind of the previous rezoning of the property, the R14 property, which is located south of Shipwreck Kelly's, precipitated this change. When that property is rezoned, the Planning Commission made a recommendation that we shift an existing activity center, commercial activity center, which was shown on the land use plan, is shown a little bit further to the north. You guys made a recommendation to shift that further to the south to encompass the property surrounding the intersection of County Road 6 and Oyster Bay Road. That was approved, I think, in January. The main reason for that is, usually commercial uses are better suited towards intersections of major kind of streets. This is somewhat of is the major street in this area of the city. So commercial uses are more likely to occur at this area. There's also some existing general business zoning at Shipwreck Kelly's, and then south of the road there was a BT zoning. So it just made sense to kind of shift this whole activity center to this area. Again, you guys all know that mixed use is encouraged by our land use plan, and then activity centers are basically significant nodes of commercial activity, which provide businesses and services to their surrounding residential neighborhoods. You could have a restaurant, a small office, small retail stores, so that people in this area don't have to go, they can get some of their daily convenience needs at a place, at a commercial center like this, instead of having to travel all the way back into Gulf Shores. So again, the analysis portion, you guys amended the future land use map within the last year to move that activity center southward to encompass this area surrounding the County Road 6 Waterway West intersection. Rezoning this property supports the mixed-use development goals of the land use plan. Again, the BG district is intended to provide a wide range of retail business uses serving the surrounding community. A lot of those more intense uses allowed by BG zoning district are not permitted within the Plash Island Bonscore River Overlay District. For example, minor auto repair is allowed in the BG zoning district. Minor auto repair is not allowed in the Plash Island Bonscore River Overlay District. So that is more restrictive than what's allowed by the BG. So in that case, the overlay district would rule. So again, the BG zoning will support the commercial uses that are needed in this area to provide the services to the surrounding residential neighborhoods. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the rezoning of the subject property to general business district. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Andy. Any questions from here? Brent?
I have one. There are still, looks like 3 parcels south of Shipwreck Kelly's and the home that was already rezoned general business. Will those remain as residential?
Those are part of this rezoning request.
So those that are on County Road 6 on that.
Yes, sir.
road. We put
Can you
that-
go back to the map,
put that
please?
Map back up there. So all the properties that front the roadway are part of this request.
Yes,
So 4101, 4125.
yes.
Oh, that's-
All those highlighted in red. I should have mentioned that
It's okay.
better because
It's in the middle
Our-
of BG
yeah.
already.
They're already BG, right?
Okay.
Okay.
yes, sir.
yellow, okay.
That's correct. So that whole kind of area right there will be, if it's approved by the Planning Commission and City Council, will be rezoned to general business.
Thank you.
Questions? Okay, I'll now open up the public hearing. Is David Kelly here? David, you got to come up just in case somebody wants to ask you a question. Kind of give us an idea what your plans are and
How you doing? Dave Kelly. I live in Illinois, Sycamore, Illinois. We plan on using the 2 lots to the north where we're currently working on Shipwreck Kelly's for parking. So we need more parking in order to, get the proper people.
parking you need
Yeah.
for that,
mhm.
okay.
So
Okay.
that's what we plan on using for that. And then the other lots right now, they have houses on it and we're just gonna use that we have no plans for building anything right now.
Okay, all right. Any questions up here? Okay, I'll now open up the public hearing, and would anybody like to address the commission, please? Yes, ma'am.
Laurie Eberly. Are these areas going to be serviced by Gulf Shores Utilities? Do they have sewer and water from Gulf Shores Utilities available?
Good question. Andy, do you know if it's service?
So normally, at the time of site plan approval, if and when he comes back for any development, we will require a utility letter, and I think we only accept utility letters from Gulf Shores Utilities.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Come on up and tell us who you are, sir.
I'm Larry Freeman, and I live out on Highway 6. I'm also president of the Bonscore River Preservation Association.
We ain't seen you in a while, Larry. I hadn't seen you in a while.
Been around.
Okay.
I have talked to Andy and Lee about this overlay district before. Now, the restaurant there and the parking lot and all is fine. But please don't for 1 minute, you gentlemen think you can get out over your skis on this area. It will not support much of a livelihood of anything. The elevation out there in general is 2 feet in this whole overlay district. And I talked to Lee about this less than a year ago, and he advised me none of this stuff was going to be coming up. Well, I don't appreciate it coming up. This thing, it does not work. People out there are very happy with their large lots, their low elevations, their lack of asphalt, and that's what they want. They don't want an overlay district out there with what Andy says can be a 15-story building. All of this was fought years and years ago. And all of a sudden, you're gonna bring it up and it's gonna be refought again? I think it'll be a lot tougher this time than it was then. So you gentlemen, please be careful in what you do. There will be a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comment. Anybody else like to address our body? Okay, Mayor, close the, oh, excuse me, come on up, sir.
Greg Maynard. I live just 2 doors up from your most northern proposal. Right, that's going to be a parking lot. Is what you're proposing, right next to the Specchio's house, the blue house.
Not the specular, one down.
Yeah, so the lot directly south of them is going to be a parking lot.
No, there's
So
no
you have the
lot-
Specchio's house on the water, and then just south is a lot,
Right, not-
4199.
That's not mine.
That's not yours. Okay, because I got a letter that had 4199 on it.
That's a free zone annexation.
Yes, sir. There was a pre-zone annexation that was deferred
Okay.
by the planning commission at the beginning of this meeting. That was a property that you must be referencing.
Yes, okay. So just south of that, you're planning to do parking? Okay. Are you gonna have some type of fence up around that to buy that? Because I'm 2 doors up, and it's a very peaceful place to live right now. We haven't had a chance to meet. But I just don't want to lose that. That's the reason we moved there. It's off the beaten path. It's nice. It's quiet. I know you've got the restaurant. You're probably gonna have some live music there, but we want as much separation as we can. So to be clear, do you own the 4199?
No.
Okay, because I thought it had Kelly on
And then
there.
I'm the applicant.
So
Oh,
he's the applicant. Usually, whenever we get an application, we
Okay.
go by the
Then
applicant's
if you
name.
had it, then you would propose to, if you bought that, if they changed it to general business, what would you do with it then?
I wouldn't, I don't know what to do. I don't know what.
Okay.
For instance, there's a lot of,
Yeah,
mitigation and
right,
stuff
right.
on there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, our concern is have residential property right next to that. I mean, if it gets rezoned to general business, then anything could happen, right? At that point, I mean, I would. hate
Not
to see-
anything.
Well,
Whatever's allowed by the
But things that we wouldn't want there happen.
whatever's allowed by the general business zoning district and the Plash Island overlay district. But again, that property you're referring to has been deferred. It's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay. All right, I guess that's all my questions. So you're talking about making parking from the lot south of there all the way down to the
Two more
building?
lots and then the restaurant.
Okay. All right, just keep it quiet for us, would you? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think we're done with this hearing.
Can I just
Mel?
ask you a question of the applicant?
Sure.
Do you have a timeline on when we might see a site plan?
Yeah, we're gonna be working on it right after, once we get the approval, we've already had that in motion. Because we only have half of our permit, we can't get the other half of the permit until we get this site worked out. So
Gotcha.
it should be, as soon as it's the final approval on all this, we should have the ball already in motion by then. So we're hoping maybe a month or two.
Okay.
City staff has been working with Mr. Kelly for months to kind of get the property zoned correctly for what he wants to do. He probably has to, or may have to come back and do a, combine some of the lots. So we have seen some different layouts and plans, but it's just going through the process. I would hope once it's rezoned, then soon thereafter, you guys would see a site plan. So, because I think part of it is also he lives in Illinois, kind of coming back and forth. It's not going as fast as he would have preferred. So, but we're working with him.
Anybody else? Okay, Mel, close the public hearing.
Can I make one other comment related to the, some of the comments that were made? So Mr. Freeman brought up the Plash Island Overlay District. We have had internal discussions with staff recently to talk about modifying that, or even if it's needed any longer. That was created probably in 2005. Lots changed since 2005. So we are looking at the possibility of removing that from the zoning ordinance or modifying it substantially. And then as a reminder, in regards to, kind of buffering and things like that, that'll all come into play if and when Mr. Kelly or the owner of the properties submit for site plan. If they want to change it to a restaurant use or, whatever type of use, generally the buffering is dependent upon the use of the property versus the use of the next door neighbor property. So if it's a restaurant next to residential, there's usually buffering that's required by the zoning ordinance. So we get into a lot more of the specific site planning at a different stage than rezoning.
So Andy, on that note, if the overlay district for Bon Secours were removed, which is the more restrictive over that or the BG, would that change? Is that,
It could. So, I mean, we have to look at it because there's certain things that the Plash Island Bosco River Overlay District allows that probably shouldn't be allowed. There's some restrictions that are in place that maybe should. So that's something we just need to look at and analyze before we will, before we make any recommendations to the Planning Commission, City Council. But since that was brought up, I did want to mention we are looking at changing it because it was done
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
And they'll receive a notice.
So when we
How's
change the
that
zoning
advertised?
ordinance,
Advertisement?
it's more of a general advertisement. We put it in the paper and our social media sites. So we don't notify everyone that's involved when we have a general zoning ordinance change, because technically it affects everyone that owns land in the city. That would be very expensive to send out certified mailing to everybody in the city, or property owners.
So Andy, public hearing closed, or okay. So to clarify, the two lots just north of Shipwreck Kelly's, the restaurant sites, there currently are 4, and by right could be 20 dwelling units per acre if they could fit 20 units per acre on each of those lots.
Yes, sir.
So we're actually reducing the opportunity to have high-density living or high-density housing further north of this restaurant by turning it into general business for use associated with the actual restaurant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the Kelly property rezoning for application ZA 25-27.
You have a motion?
I'll second.
Second, okay. Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carried.
That's a recommendation to City Council, isn't it?
City Council.
Yes, it is a recommendation to City Council, so this will appear on a future City Council meeting date for a public hearing, which will take place approximately in at least a month, about a month. And it'll be,
To City Council.
and both of those will be re-advertised prior to that public hearing. So anyone that got a notice should get a notice again.
All right. Scott, you are next presenter.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we are doing the zoning text amendment applicant, City of Gulf Shores.
If I can get there. Oh, there we go. All right, good afternoon, Commissioners. This agenda item, your third agenda item, is a zoning, well, there I am, a zoning text amendment pertaining to the parking in the Waterway Village Overlay District. Some of you may know there has been a parking committee that has met for some time to discuss parking issues and recommendations. Some planning commissioners were on it, city council members and other people were on the committee. Several, discussion was held, recommendations were made, and staff put together some proposed language to accommodate some of the initial findings and thoughts of that committee. As a reminder, the Waterway Village overlay, the purpose of it is to be a pedestrian-oriented neighborhood center that can serve residents and visitors both in a more pedestrian-oriented way, more foot traffic, trying to get away from that automobile traffic in the area. So the recommendations before you today on the screen here is section 1010D4B. A parking demand study may be performed, and again, I know Mr. Malone was asking about this. This is by request, a case-by-case basis, so it's not a required to do this study. But if a developer wishes to reduce his parking on site, a study can be performed. And right now, and this is in the ordinance right now, but right now it allows acceptable parking levels within 750 feet. The recommendation is to increase that distance to 1,320 feet, which is also a quarter mile. A quarter mile is roughly a 5-minute walk. If you consider about 20 minutes to walk a mile, so about 5 minutes, you can go about 1,320 feet. Maybe not in 95-degree weather today. That might not be may not be comfortable, but in theory. And we did provide some language on who may provide that study. So a developer can't propose it and then turn around and say, yeah, it's valid. So some type of qualified professional would have to do that study. Some additional language here. This allows for on-street parking, public parking within 200 feet of the subject site, to use that public parking to count toward the minimum required for a proposed use. And it kind of specifies or clarifies some of the requirements for that on-street parking. So this will be public parking, so the city will have some control, but we do specify it must be paid, must be unrestricted access for pedestrians from the space to the building or use, and cannot interfere with fire apparatus access. Again, what's before you on this screen is existing language, but the primary change is increasing that 750-foot distance from public parking lots or public parking within a right-of-way, from 750 feet, again, to that quarter mile, that 1,320-foot distance. And lastly, the proposed language just specifies where any monies go, any revenue that the city collects for this buy down of parking or the purchase of parking in public spaces, where it goes. So that money doesn't just go into the general fund to be spent on, recreational cultural affairs, for example. It does have to go toward parking uses. This is just a visual. So highlighted in the center is that public parking on East 24th, right kind of next to the 59 overpass. The blue is 750 feet, so what's allowed today. The pink is 1,320 feet, so what may be allowed as part of this proposal. I will point out, I didn't notice this until right before the meeting, but kind of shortchanged a little bit on the map. So I just chose the parcel. The parking actually goes into that Gulf Avenue right away. So eastward, southeastward, there's an extra 200 feet or so that really those lines should go. So part of the overall discussion of the Waterway Village parking questions, as you may recall, the city recently contracted with Kimley Horn and Associates to do an overall parking study for the district, for the overlay. They just kicked off. They were in town last week. They were flying drones. I believe I was told that they came out Saturday to do some specific counts on businesses where people are parking. They're going to put together a survey to send that out. They're going to have a stakeholder meeting, kind of a community meeting to hear from more people. So that's underway. It's several months out. And at the end, they will make recommendations. So we likely could see some more proposed text amendments pertaining to parking It may be zoning, it may be recommendations on where the city may install parking that would be most effective. So we're looking forward to that. Again, that may be 5-6 months out. With that, staff does recommend the changes, and just like a rezoning, we had previously, a zoning text amendment is also a recommendation to council, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Scott, how much additional parking do you think this will help us in this area?
Well, this is not going to add parking. This will just make potentially more parking that's already there available to proposed uses.
That's what I mean, yeah, okay. And this has nothing to do with the, down by the beach, this is strictly up.
Yes, sir, just
Waterway.
Waterway
I know
Village.
we had a staff member that's involved with this. Are you happy with this presentation so far?
I think we should add that what you highlighted were just the changes, but incorporated with the existing ordinance the way it is right now. So we added the 200 feet from your property, those could qualify. And also the parking that is adjacent to your property line, if there's public parking off your property, but right in front of your line. So you could be, your property and 200 feet more could count towards a required parking. And just to clarify on the 1320 feet in that circle, so you were intentionally going from our public parking lot.
Yes, sir, that was
there
just an
to
example,
make-
yes.
So those that parking lot now would qualify for even properties on the other side of East Second Street.
Okay, good.
They could use those towards their purchased parking.
Yes, sir.
Will the city participate and add additional parking if the study shows that it needs that?
Well, of course, that's really budget dependent. Now, I do know the city is already looking at some parking improvements, streetscape improvements in the area. So that's, underway. After the recommendations come out, I imagine we'll sit down with city staff, council, of course, and start prioritizing, find out how much it'll cost, where the money is, and start prioritizing where those improvements can be made.
Yeah, and just the parking study also includes, it's about parking management. So to your question about adding parking, I would include where can we add parking, but also how can we support the management of our current parking? Where are there opportunities to encourage shared parking? Where is there opportunities to encourage, there might be like church parking lots or things like that where we could leverage those. It also includes things like wayfinding signage to tell people where free parking is, and just really encourage, like Scott was saying in the beginning, that this is a walking district, and the more that we can help encourage people to view it that way, and adopt what's called a park once attitude, where you park once and then walk around to go where you're going, versus pull up to the restaurant where you intend to go and then just pull right out. So this is, like Scott was saying, that's to encourage you. Maybe you have to walk by 3 or 4 businesses, and those businesses now get your attention. And so it just really serves to further the Waterway Village District vision. And that's really kind of where this came from. I do have one question. I think in the committee we had taken out measured without crossing a major thoroughfare in the text amendment. And so I just wanted to just go back to that and just define maybe what crossing a major thoroughfare is. So since we have, and just specifically for Waterway Village, we had talked about in the parking committee that Second Avenue with having a crosswalk and Second Street, sorry, with having that crosswalk would not be considered a major thoroughfare. So just making sure we have that.
Can we go back to the?
You want to go to the circle?
Sir.
Never mind.
So is it right here, the on-street parking spaces located within 200 feet of the building being served, measured without crossing a major thoroughfare from the nearest point of the building or use to the nearest point of the on-street parking space immediately adjacent to the frontage? So yeah, this is the on-street parking that potentially may serve a new use or building. So you're suggesting maybe,
I just remembered, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I remember, I was just looking at our notes, taking that out. Now, we didn't have, I think really because it was a point of discussion and wondering if we didn't really have any major thoroughfares there. Now, I don't see any problem leaving it in if, you know, if in the future we were to have a major thoroughfare or something was to be designated, but just noting that what is currently there is not considered a major thoroughfare. And we talked through that with the council and the commissioners, and that since it has a crosswalk
even with the new
and the
route.
light.
And the red light. From 24th to 22nd.
Yeah, that's what the committee had discussed.
Okay. That, I mean, it sounds like you're right. Right now, there's nothing in the major thoroughfare. However, if something becomes designated that way, that will still be in there. So, yeah, if that's the planning commission is comfortable with that, I think staff is as well.
How about the pedestrian bridge area parking? Will there be parking?
We'll see.
Yes, there are. I don't know how many, but there are some. The pedestrian
All of that be a parking lot.
Yeah.
bridge, there will be some
think we'll
parking.
study that.
Yes, sir. So that's certainly part of that pedestrian bridge project. So there will be additional parking
Set up there.
from that on both sides. So you see on your map here, East Second Street. So the northern terminus of East Second on this side of the canal, it'll be right there over to the northern portion of East Second. Yes, I don't have a pointer on my screen, so I'll use, so right here.
Thanks, Scott.
And there are, I believe there are renderings online of the pedestrian bridge that show the landing pad, exactly where it's going to go. And so if that's not easily findable, we can get that.
Yeah, if you want to call or email us, we can send that to you. So.
And I know the long-range plan is to continue to add additional streetscape improvements and sidewalks and on-street parking, and there's other funding sources that are being sought after right now to try to move that up the chain to get that done quicker than not. But shorter term, the existing parking lot that was developed to try to do just this collector lot is grossly underutilized. It's not being, it's never full, very, very, very seldom full. So it's a good opportunity for additional businesses to come in that don't need to stack up and cover their whole property with parking. When there is available parking and people can get to it, it may be a little less convenient, rightfully so, but it's still an option. And I think this is a great first step.
Well, one of the reasons that this was started is because the majority of these lots are small lots. And with the current parking regulations, if you developed it to the parking standards that are normal throughout the city, you wouldn't be able to, it would minimize the development you could do. It would make the building really small and then a lot of parking. So this helps smaller lots develop and utilizing off-site parking towards their requirement. So it would encourage development.
I'll kind of point out in some of the discussions we had, kind of what Ms. Guthrie was saying, there may be some wayfinding and other recommendations. We were told when the junior council had their market in the parking lot there, a lot of people were completely unaware that you could access it through Gulf Avenue there. So a lot of it just may be unaware that it's available. So hopefully that parking study will give us some ideas like that of how to make people more aware of the parking that's available.
In essence of time, we need to get a public hearing opened up.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah. Oh, okay. We have, somebody wanted to make comments, so.
Yes, ma'am. I got another note here too.
Hey, Lori Arberly again. I think lodging should be peeled out that it is in a totally different category than restaurant and entertainment. And I'm good with that. Like if you go somewhere and you want to go out to eat, I think most of us are fine to park far and walk. But if it's lodging and you're going to stay overnight, I think you should be required to have spaces at the spot you're staying at. And
We didn't mention that, but that's what it said. It's for non-residential.
yeah, because the wording of it has lodging in with it, and I think that needs to be taken out. That's a whole different category. And I don't think there's going to be a time to use the parking lot of the church. I go to that church too, and I sure don't speak for the church, but I know there are many, many months of the year when we have a hard time finding parking, and so that is not a thing. And people that are going to other places and using the church a lot are sometimes an issue. So that's not going to be available parking, but lodging is separate in my mind from what
It
an
is.
entertainment thing is.
Thank you very much for your input. Angie? Come up. Everybody can hear you. People at home can hear you.
Just a question about, so if you're already in the process of development, we've already had a submitted and approved site plan, and our uses, and it's a mixed-use development, so our uses are limited by how many parking spaces we had to have. So I'm wondering will this change that? Like, will this help our parking situation to where before maybe we were only going to be able to put retail somewhere if someone wanted to put a restaurant in that required more parking? Currently, we're not able to do that because we have just enough parking spaces. I'm just wondering if this is going to help that where the formula changes.
Gotcha. In the waterway district you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say, assuming the city council hears and approves this and it, becomes codified in the zoning ordinance, we'd be happy to look again. We might have to go through the site plan process again, but we wouldn't have a problem looking again and making sure it complies with the zoning ordinance.
Maybe an amendment of that.
Potentially, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we would certainly be glad to look at it again.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm Travis Dixon, live in Aventura. I'm wondering with the development, has there been any studies or thought of maybe it would allow too much development in that area? I'm all for less concrete and parking pads, but also a lot of our concerns is with traffic and with overdevelopment in the city. So if you're freeing up this space so they don't have to have parking, you get a lot more businesses like you mentioned. And is that necessarily a good thing or could it be a bad thing? We're all for more green spaces in the city. So has that been considered at all?
Well, the hope is actually this will reduce some of the traffic. So
I meant the development, like he was mentioning, hey, that will allow more buildings, more businesses.
It potentially would. Again, the purpose of the Waterway Village is more pedestrian oriented, which typically involves density, both horizontal and vertical. So you may see more development, but again, the purpose of this is to make it more pedestrian friendly. So kind of like Ms. Guthrie said, the kind of the park once concept. Visitors may come in, hopefully will find a good parking spot and be able to stay there and visit multiple places and before they decide to depart.
And we're talking about smaller places too.
Right.
Not.
But still more people, more businesses to attract more people with parking being shoved further out. And so you're doing a traffic study, a parking study. So is a study, or is that something that should be considered at all, is how much do we want this area to be developed with businesses? You did tie your hands some with the parking because you only had so much space, but now you're freeing all that space up. So,
Yeah, so
that
they
probably
will be looking at land uses, and I think that'll be part of their recommendation is potential changes, not just specifically parking, but potential land use changes, so other zoning changes.
And,
as well.
living north of the bridge, we would love to be able to safely get to this area by bike or whatever means of transportation that's not an automobile, if golf carts are allowed. But I don't think there's many plans to get and connect these neighborhoods north, on the west side of 59 over to that pedestrian bridge. But, and also my final question or concern is why would we approve this before the parking study has been completed? Don't you think it would make more sense to, or has this been fed to the parking study so they can consider that and incorporate it into their study?
We'll certainly make sure, the consultant is aware of this. This is kind of a initial minor change, but the consultant will or does know about it, and we predict many more changes will come out of the study.
I think a point to note too is what this does is it doesn't take away parking requirements. It allows the business to decide how much parking makes sense for them. So some businesses are going to still put in what parking they feel like they need. And other businesses now have an option to purchase, will with the bigger study, as the other components, one of the other components they're talking about is to purchase those parking credits elsewhere from the city. So it's almost, a good word is like a free market parking. And so you're not limiting a developer or somebody who wants to put in a restaurant or a retail to what they're able to do. And but you're allowing them to still have the same, they could still go in with the same number of parking spots that they want. So it's more open, and you're leaving that up to the business owner
Within the district.
within that district to say, this is what I need for my business. And so that's where.
But I'm assuming there's a minimum amount of parking for certain businesses that the city requires?
Absolutely. So this is just a way to, yes, this is a modification to that. There's different, so, and then to Lori's question about, there is in there, it does say non-residential on number, or letter C. But yeah, so it just opens that up to increased density. And to your question about the development of the area, it is, like Frank was saying, it is small parcel development. So most of these, the goal is development, and but it's part of a planned growth develop to do it in this concentrated area versus, no plan. So this is an effort to create a plan, to create a concentrated downtown district, if you will, for people to come and enjoy, to give us a location to do some of the things that we want to do, like parades and, those kinds of things that bring a community together and gather, and events and festivals. And those things do better when you think about any kind of small town, downtown district. You have several storefronts and several restaurants to participate in.
Yeah, I would just recommend that the study you're paying for already, have them give you two options. Hey, if this is approved by the city council, how will this impact your study and recommendations? If it's not approved, how will this impact your study and recommendations?
Good idea. Okay. Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Charles Allen, live over on 22nd Avenue. How much are the parking credits? You're saying they're for purchasing, I mean,
That's part of the plan, is to determine how much those parking credits are. So that,
well, there's not even a ballpark number for what they're gonna be, or?
There is, Andy, what was when we did
In the past,
Acme?
In the past, the city's charged $3,000 a space. That was,
Was that-
Acme, that was, years ago now.
it's really based on the current construction cost of a
Is
parking
that for
spot.
a year or forever? You
Well,
just-
so that's part of the plan, and looking at how that can continually be updated, and then also looking at different ways of paying that down from a developer standpoint, paying all at once, paying in perpetuity, leasing a space. There's any kind of number of ways to do that purchasing. And so that's where we're really looking to the consultant to make that recommendation.
And when you're talking about the on-street parking, that's in the future, because there's not a lot of on-street parking over there at the present time. It's, you're wanting people to build on-street parking. And would that affect any of the zoning for short-term rentals over there, or? Because there's not a lot of short-term rentals over there. No, where are these people that are going to be visiting coming from?
So that area, the overlay district, is zoned for CUP application for short-term rental. So it's not zoned by right, but if those businesses do want, like the Galway business, for example, has that short-term rental application with their apartments upstairs. So that's something that people could replicate. And the idea behind that is keeping that on the street in the district away from the residential.
Oh, well, just as an example, at Galway, they have nowhere near enough parking for that, for what they're doing there. I mean, there were people parking in the grass at the motel area, people parking over in the shopping center, catty corner across from them. I mean,
Yeah, and that's one of the prime reasons and motivation behind all of this, is that we want to have businesses like the Galway. We want more of those, right? And at the same time, to have more of those with the current parking requirements, it wouldn't work, because Galway's had to beg, steal, borrow other parking. And so how can we support that? It's going to be through parking management, is what we say. It's going to be increasing parking, on-street parking, finishing out the on-street parking that the city has planned for, and then also working to create better signage and create what they call it activating. So if you think about it, when you walk from Walmart to the front door, a lot of times you're walking close to the distance you could walk from Galway to that Acme lot. But you're not as likely to do that because there's not a lot of stuff to walk by.
well, also, there's not a lot of sidewalks over there either.
Right.
I think the only sidewalks are on 24th Avenue, maybe.
Yep, and
There's no sidewalks by the brewery. There's no sidewalks down by where Foam Coffee is and past the church and over on 22nd Avenue.
They're coming now. There's sidewalks there now, and there's sidewalks on 24th, and there's sidewalks now along Meyer Park, and there's more sidewalks being developed there.
Right.
Anything that's being
But I mean, where the
rebuilt.
businesses are, the only real parking lot, only real sidewalk is right there, along by Acme to Tacky Jack's.
So with the bridge going in, there will be on-street parking up to 23rd, and we're pushing really hard to get 23rd to 22nd. It's already in a plan that should be complete within 2 years after the bridge, but we're also working on
You're talking about where like the building supply is.
So it'll stop at building supply now with the completion of the bridge, and then we're working to figure out either a temporary solution that's, it has to do with the utilities and it has to do with the funding, but we see that additional block between 23rd and 22nd as a big priority. So figuring out, we have the crosswalk that goes across there now, but exactly what you're saying is that this is all part of recognizing those issues.
So basically, you're trying to find parking. These parking credits are just kind of a way to bend the rules a little bit so you can get more parking.
It's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing, development come first or parking come first. Right now, when you look at the parking, it's not a parking supply problem, it's a parking management problem. So we did a preliminary,
I think there's a parking supply problem.
we did a preliminary study. When you look at how many parking, on 2nd Avenue, nobody's gonna argue, we need that on-street parking, absolutely. But when you look at, there's over 200 spots in the Acme parking, or the city parking lot across the street from Acme. And then with additional defining of what is parking, all of those things, we have a lot of people trying to park right on site. And then we don't have that on-street parking right now. But once we do get that on-street parking and we do activate a little bit more development, the idea is that we can utilize the parking lot that is there that is completely underutilized. Does that make sense?
And are there any thoughts about changing the short-term rental zoning for that area?
To do what?
That's not part of it.
I mean, I realize that, but I was just saying.
That takes a whole different zoning text amendment. That's not part of this application, and I don't think we've necessarily thought about
Yeah, no one has approached us, or we've had no discussion on making any of those changes.
Okay, because it seems like to me that something like that would add visitors to the area, and that's, one of your purposes there. So.
You mean changing it to by right instead of a conditional use? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because it is a conditional use
It's only
right now.
conditional use in certain zoning districts in the waterway overlay district. So there's quite a bit of R4 multifamily residential zone property in that district. It's currently just single family single family houses. In the R4, a conditional use will be required to short-term rental. Ms. Guthrie referenced the mixed-use building in Galway has 4 units above it. Those were allowed by right because short-term rental is allowed by right, and the
general business zoning district, so it still depends on what the underlying zoning is. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
It's kind of complicated.
Right, yeah.
So those businesses along Second Avenue that are zone general business would be by right short-term versus
Yes,
them off.
maybe in a mixed-use development, because multifamily is not allowed in general business, it gets complicated.
Well, I think in general, to activate the Waterway Village, we're gonna need to get developers willing to come in there and look at buying a piece of property and being able to repurpose that piece of property. And if they're turned off by they can't even park their customers on that property, they're just gonna go away.
Right.
So this is an opportunity to then start at least attracting some of those people to look and see, is there a better way? Is there a different way? I don't have to have parking on my piece of property the entire way. I can be close to the city lot, or I can be close to on-street parking, or I can somehow get parking credits so that it doesn't completely occupy that piece of property if I want to put my business on that piece of property. And oh, by the way, maybe I can put something upstairs and let somebody rent upstairs as well. So it's an opportunity to try to have those conversations, which right now we're pretty well not able to have those
Okay,
conversations.
I just know that there's just not enough parking over there, and
In the,
I might want to say that Galway House purchased the property next door to them too, so they got additional parking.
And the Waterway Village District Plan was developed after the oil spill. Basically, you know, thinking about where the people are gonna come from, is to get the people that are currently using the beach to come to a different area of the city to limit.
right.
The mayor and city council realized after the oil spill shut our beaches down that year, that, hey, if we have something else that we don't know about, like an oil spill or something we never even heard of, it shuts down the beaches, we're in trouble. So we're trying to diversify our tourist economy, try to create a neighborhood downtown like you got in Fairhope, or
Right.
we don't really have a downtown.
No.
Some people call that downtown. This used to be downtown South Georgia before I was alive. It was a drawbridge or whatever. So try to kind of recapture that area and remake it to downtown, that big residential area when we decide that,
in,
you know, just feel liberty to go there. And,
And-
you know,
People ride their bikes there from the neighborhoods. It's an opportunity for
And
that.
again, and this is to support the current residents as well, who hopefully shouldn't drive to some of these
Right,
areas. They
right.
should
Bikes, they
walk, ride their bikes, maybe
Right,
even
well-
golf carts.
Well, I'm just like on my street, there are no sidewalks to walk to.
We're working on a lot of that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd just say, I mean, it's a step in that vision too, and just trying to make Gulf Shores in general more walkable, more bikeable, starting with the district and moving outwards, you know, starting with the town center, getting the infrastructure it needs, and then working outwards from there with the sidewalks and the infrastructure, and doing it in a way that's, you know, just thought through and planned out.
Okay.
you
All
know,
right.
one last comment.
Okay.
In the pedestrian bridge contract that's going on now and you don't see it, there is a lot of parking as part of that existing contract from 23rd all the way to 24th, and also on the north side all the way to Waterway East. So there'll be sidewalks, connectivity, and parking in those areas that are adjacent to the pedestrian bridge.
There's 40 spots north and 40 spots south going in,
Is that the number?
pretty sure.
That's an approximate number out
Yeah,
there.
might be like 38 or something.
Is that gonna be like paid or free for residents, or is it gonna be like beach parking, you have to pay for that?
All those have not been determined yet. I would assume, this is me thinking, it would not be a paid parking situation, at least initially, until the demand gets to the point where you need to have parking turnover or something like that. But I've not heard whether it's paid parking or free parking. Assume free parking like everything else in that area is right now.
All right, okay, I think in the essence of time, Mel, I think anybody else want to say anything before I close the hearing? Okay. Our last public hearing is a subdivision regulation.
We need to have action.
It's a recommendation to
Excuse
city
me.
council, yes.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve item ZTA 2503 Waterway Village overlay parking zoning text amendment.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, sorry about that, folks. Okay, motion has passed. Okay, our last Let's see, our last subdivision regulation amendment, SDR 2501. Scott?
Yes, sir. This is the exciting portion of the agenda. Subdivision regulation text amendment. This is Article 6, Design and Improvement Standards. So on the screen here is Section 63B10, the minimum street construction standards. So this specifies minimum standards for the construction of, this is typically for a new subdivision like a residential or really any subdivision that'll have infrastructure to be built and then turned over to the city at a later date. So the city has particular interest in the way it's built and the long-term durability of it. So you can see the current regulations, it specifies some minimum standards for like asphalt, the layers and sublayers of the asphalt, the compressive strength of concrete curb, and then it mentions that streets will have striping, and that's about the extent of that. City engineer, she'll be up in just a moment to explain better than I can, but has noticed that we need some changes to this minimum standards. So now on the screen is proposed. That is all in English. However, I won't be good enough at explaining that, so I'm going to turn it over to our city engineer who can really make sense of it.
All right, so as Scott mentioned, this is sort of a three-piece part, right? We're going to talk about the structural section of asphalt, the strength of concrete, and then the striping on top of it. So I'll walk through those. We're going to start with concrete. So currently our regulations require a minimum concrete strength of 3,000 pounds per square inch, and we are proposing increasing that to 4,000. All of these standards are aligned with what ALDOT currently requires for like a commercial driveway or a road that's not a highway, but a classification that we would classify most of our roads at. So these are in line with ALDOT standards. 3,000 PSI concrete is really suitable for like a patio at your house, something that's not going to see any heavy vehicle loads on that. 4,000 PSI is better for those heavy loads like driveways, roadways, anything that's going to see vehicular traffic loads. And 4,000 PSI concrete will generally be more durable and resistant to wear and tear. So what I have here is a couple pictures of a place in a neighborhood. This is about 4 years old. We're trying to get this into warranty actually right now. And you can see kind of a patchwork of concrete here where there's some old concrete and some new concrete pieces. What happened is traffic has driven over that curb in the last couple of years, and it was poured with 3,000 PSI concrete. So everywhere you see whiter concrete is new concrete. It was all cracked and had to be replaced. So that concrete's not even 4 years old at this point in time. So as you can see, that 3,000 doesn't hold up very well as a standard, especially if it's taking any sort of traffic, and especially truck traffic, trash can, trash receptacles, UPS delivery trucks, they weigh a lot. So that's our recommendation for concrete. It's really hard to take pictures of concrete and asphalt, so I did my best. When we talk about asphalt typically has a surface life or a service life of new asphalt road of 20 years. That's what we want to see on a service life for asphalt. So with maintenance, that obviously can last a lot longer, and the frequency and durability of that street section really depends on this. So what I have a picture of here is an existing road. This is actually Canal and West, I think it's 3rd, might be 4th. So you can see a section of that was overlaid this year with new, nice, black, smooth asphalt. And in the foreground of the photo is an older section of road that didn't get overlaid this year. It's probably on our plan to overlay in the next couple of years. But you can see some cracking on that asphalt where it's starting to wear out. So that's telling us that the service life of that road is starting to decrease, and we want to take care of that. So our goal, like I mentioned, is to get that 20 years remaining service life. These roads are approximately 4 years old, and they were built to our current standards. So in the center, you can see some surface cracking coming through on that picture. Surface cracking, alligator cracking, or linear cracks. They're small hairline cracks, and they can develop into larger ones. Water can get into that, and it can really weaken the structural section of the road by allowing that water infiltration, which we don't want to see soaking down in the roads. We want to get that off of the roads. You can also see a little bit of raveling on this. Raveling occurs when the aggregate particles in the asphalt separate and detach, and they leave like a rougher surface than that smooth surface of asphalt that you normally see. Another problem that we are seeing frequently is rutting and settling, and you can see that in the left-hand photo. This is due to heavy loads or poor compaction or not a strong enough structural section to hold up the road. So when a truck drives over the asphalt, it gives. It's a flexible type of pavement, and it's designed to have a little bit of give in it, but bounce back and not have too much give. And you can see the puddling there in front of the inlet where the asphalt has settled, and the water now will not get into the inlet. It just sits in the road. And you can kind of see some of that on the right photo as well, where there's uneven settling, water ponding on the asphalt. And then you can also see what is likely a roll-off dumpster tracks cut into the picture there on the right-hand side. With only our current section of asphalt is 2 inches thick. So with only 2 inches of thick asphalt, there's not much protection if something scratches or damages the top of that asphalt. So here's a cross section. On the left-hand side is the existing spec, and the right-hand side is our proposed spec. So the existing calls for 2 inches of asphalt with a tack coat, and underneath that is 6 or 8 inches of compacted soil. So really we're getting 2 inches of asphalt total. The proposed section gives us 2 layers of asphalt. The top layer is 1.5 inches, and the lower layer is 2 1/4. And in between those is the tack coat. Tack coat just holds the asphalt, binds it to itself. And then we're proposing that total 3 1/4 inch asphalt is on top of at least 6 inches of B-base. B-base is what AlDOT uses. It's a solid, good base material, whereas sand and clay materials compact differently. B-base gives you a solid base underneath that. So that will really, we believe this will really help with the rutting and settling that we're seeing. It adds an additional 1 3/4 of asphalt in the proposed section versus the original. And yes, there is cost associated with this increase in asphalt. Really, what we're doing is we're putting the burden of that cost on the developer to give us that 20-year life road. Because as you saw in those photos, those roads were only 4 years old. So our crew is going to have to be out there overlaying those. And it costs us $7,000 roughly to do a 500-foot section of roadway, whereas it would cost the developer about $9,000 to do it right up front and give us that lifespan out of our roads. So that's a little about asphalt. When we talk about striping, currently our spec just says paint. It doesn't even say what kind of paint. I guess you could go out there with a can of spray paint and call it good. And that's what we see in the left-hand photo. That's a current picture of paint that's not even accepted into the city yet as a city street. And on the right-hand side, you can see thermoplastic. Thermoplastic has a longer lifespan. It's typically 7 years versus 2 years for typical road paint. Thermoplastic also meets all of the MUTCD retro reflectivity standards. So those are standards that are set forth so that when your headlights hit those stripes at night, you can actually see them. They do require a little bit more work up front, but less maintenance in the long term and result in a lower long-term cost. So they're a more cost-effective material overall. So with that, staff recommends approving the amendment to section 63B10 of the subdivision regulations. Happy to answer any questions.
This recommendation to city council also?
It does not. This is just a subdivision amendment. So once planning commission approves it, then it becomes effective in the subdivision regulations.
Can you ensure that the thickness of the asphalt needs to be and what's under it better? Who's going to supervise that? I mean,
So I have an inspector as part of our engineering team, and he goes out during the construction of these new neighborhoods and visually inspects that things are being put together correctly. You know, and as an example, when a concrete truck drives up on site, they have a ticket that tells them what kind of concrete is in the truck. So we can look at that ticket and we can require copies of those tickets in our file, which we do. And so that'll say, oh yeah, it was 4,000 PSI concrete, or no, it was not. And in addition to that, we require reports from the engineer of record to say that subdivisions were built in accordance, and they inspect those as well.
Would it help any to put additional rebar in the concrete and the asphalt? Would that do any, that extend the life at all or not?
Not in this case. Typically, we don't see rebar in sidewalks or curb and gutter. So occasionally we'll use that in a repair situation where a section was taken out. We might tie it together with rebar, but in these applications, typically rebar is not required. We do have a language in here that says, like, or as directed by the geotech engineer or the engineer of record. So if, for example, a thicker section was found to be needed in the geotech report, it would be required. This is a minimum standard.
So with this change, assuming it's moving forward, when the subdivision that you showed, which has poor paint, goes back to fix that before the city takes those over, will they then be required to use this standard if it was built 4 years ago to the previous standard? Or is this only for moving forward?
This would only be for moving forward. We have been trying to require this as projects have been coming in, knowing that this was coming before you and hoping that it would be approved by y'all, so that projects that are currently in process meet the majority of these standards as they're moving forward.
I think this is great. I was talking about this with someone today, and I didn't understand a lot of even what you said. I don't understand, to be totally honest. But what I did understand and do is that some of our streets, for example, like Stafford and Aventura, one of the reasons that street has not been adopted by the city is because of the current condition of the road, and that is on the developer. And so this will allow just exactly like what you were saying, and so I think that's great. I'm not sure how that relates to if there's any other language in the future. I think this is great for today and the future, but how that relates to, from what I understand, starting to hold the developer more accountable or charging them. And I know there's a relationship to releasing a bond and all of that. But I think this is a great step forward, and looking at maybe some retroactive of how we can do that, or how be proactive on some of these what have become thoroughfares and more heavier used streets that were not originally intended to that, and holding,
Yeah, and it's really hard, when we have a subdivision and now that the roads are not in adequate condition, but our standards don't really require an adequate section. That's what we found. Oh, what can I hold them to, because it's not adequate, but we didn't require anything that was. So this will fix that.
So in the case of the Aventura, the developer built what he built, they built, and it's not sufficient, and they're going to have to go back and redo it, which is going to be probably more expensive than if it would have been built correctly the first time.
Yeah, the developer is not here for Aventura, but I think I could speak on their behalf to say they have poured a lot more money into this subdivision already, trying to get it up to standards. And you could see that in the concrete, what I'd call concrete patchwork that they did out there, where they had to replace half of the concrete that was in place just to have concrete that was not cracked and that met, an acceptable condition that we could take. And they're not done with their asphalt repairs out there yet. They started, but they haven't completed those.
So even though there's an increased cost on the front end, it could potentially even save a developer down the road if it's not done to the standards that needs to be done to accept it for city management.
Absolutely.
And this is only a requirement for roads and sidewalks that would be ultimately turned over to the city.
Yeah, it's in our subdivision regulations, and these are for roads that fall within our right-of-way. So they're in a subdivision in any new road that we would accept into as a city road moving forward.
Do you know if other cities are doing this?
I do. So Baldwin County, Orange Beach, Fairhope all have adopted ALDOT standards. So this is really in line with what a lot of other jurisdictions around us are doing. Some have written their own that are very similar. Some have just flat adopted ALDOT. Basically, this meets ALDOT.
Thank you.
Is this one a copy and paste from AlDOT, pretty much?
It's not a direct copy and paste. ALDOT's a little more complicated, and ALDOT has different road section. You know, they have highway rated roads versus commercial arterial roads. And so really this falls into a criteria of a local or maybe a minor collector road for us. So,
But in line with.
but it's in line.
Good, okay.
Any questions up here? Open up the public hearing. Anyone like to approach and ask us any questions regarding this topic? Okay. All right, Mel, close the public hearing and
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I was just going to let the commission know, early part of the meeting, I was on my phone trying to read state code because there's only 5 members up here, but in order to amend the subdivision regulations, you need 5 affirmative votes. So I was just trying to figure out that answer. So that's, just so you know, it's 5 affirmative votes to amend subdivision regs.
okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the recommendation for the subdivision regulations amendment as drafted.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I think you got your 5 affirmative.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just a little additional information. I will tell you that we recently had a meeting with a neighborhood and this private streets. And the question posed to the city was, would the city take our streets? And Jenny's response, well, it has to meet city standards. And they immediately knew that was, again, they built it, private developer or privately built it years ago, and they're just not to city specs. So again, this will further reinforce if that happens, if we get that request again, our standard is this. So again, that protects the city for long-term maintenance. So it's very important.
Thank you, Scott.
And if I could, while I have the mic, just a couple more, just some discussion we've had in the office. Like Andy mentioned, there has been some discussion on Plash Island overlay. We are continuing to look at ways to improve and tweak and make more efficient some of our regulations. We've looked at some of the bonding requirements and procedures, so that could come before you at some point. We're discussing potential changes to some of our notification requirements. So again, we may have some more changes coming before the commission in the next few months. So look forward to those, and we'll work through those. Next meeting is August 26th.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience who did not get a chance to approach the board about any other topics? I'd like to come back to this time. All right. Communications from staff. Andy, you got anything for us?
Nothing to add.
I guess I got mine in.
I will just add, the discussions tonight, we're also working on those discussions for the beach district and the walking district as a whole. So looking at that, expanding the walking districts, a couple other different zoning recommendations to support commercial development and increased and well-managed parking also. So the parking committee has been working on that in tandem. This one just came out first. So if anybody's wondering about where those discussions have gone, they're still continuing, and we'll still continue to work on this.
Thanks for your, if y'all don't know, Jennifer's been working on a parking study, and she's head of the committee and done a great job with I think Frank Long and several others. Now that the Embassy Suites is opening this week, any chance we can look at the parking and see if there's any improvement there now that that's going to be opening? I'm just saying, I know you're busy, but I mean, just when you can, give us an idea of what's going to happen down there now that that's opening.
We'll certainly be watching. Yes, sir.
Because we had a lot of businesses down there that were affected during the construction period of that hotel.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay, see y'all next month. Thank y'all for coming, folks.